Good evening. My name is Keith Fromm. I am the interim head of school. I just want to personally congratulate our 8th graders. We've obviously had, as everyone says, an unprecedented, challenging, difficult year, but I found it to be quite a pleasurable year. It's been an exciting year to spend with this great team and these great students here at Elmwood Franklin. And one of the deep pleasures I've had this year is the number of children that I had when I was head here who've grown up to become educators and who work here now. And they went from children to colleagues, and that has given me great and deep, you can't really imagine the satisfaction I feel out of that. It's almost like the satisfaction I feel with my own children. The number of young people who have grown up to become educators and are on the faculty of Elmwood Franklin. So, in this, my last hour as interim head, I get to have one final pleasure of this magnitude, and that is to introduce another child of mine who was here when I was the head of the school, and that's Lindsay Acker as our graduate speaker. So Lindsay Acker graduated from here in 2012, and she goes by she and her. Lindsay is a talker and a listener, and she comes from long lines of the same. She recognizes herself as a composition of the people, relationships, and communities that have poured into her, and she tries to bring that melody with her every day and everywhere she goes. Her relationships, experiences, and studies have led to a passion for transformative and restorative justice, working to reimagine systems so that they can help people lead thriving lives in an equitable, collaborative, and accountable system. So these passions of hers, in turn, brought her to the Erie County Restorative Justice Coalition. At ECRJC, Lindsay's role as the program and case coordinator encourages and supports accountability and healing in the communities in Buffalo, New York, through community circles and restorative conferencing. Lindsay also volunteers at the Third Space Initiative at the United States Heartland China Association, and here she uses her facilitation and circle-keeping skills rooted in Indigenous practices to create an equitable and empathetic space, undermining conventional power dynamics and advancing the practice of intercultural engagement. Her enthusiasm for the transformative power of stories includes a passion for theater, and in non-COVID times you can find her attending, teaching, acting, or working on and off the stage. So Lindsay, as I said, is a proud 2012 EFS grad. She graduated valedictorian from Williamsville South High School in 2016. And following high school, she attended Eastern Mennonite University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in peace building and development in 2020. Lindsay completed her Master's of Arts in Conflict Transformation in 2021 from the Center for Justice and Peace Building at Eastern Mennonite University. I am just absolutely delighted to bring you Lindsay Acker.
Thank you, Dr. Fromm, for that introduction. If I can take this off. And thank you, EFS, for inviting me here today and welcoming me home. As many of you did, I grew up at EFS, and I'm grateful for this family that keeps calling me back. That's one thing you'll realize after you leave EFS, you never really leave EFS. I was honestly completely blindsided by the invitation to speak here today. I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to talk about. I've been to a lot of graduations, 4 of them this year. As Dr. Fromm said, I just graduated myself, and my 2020 undergrad ceremony was canceled. So I had a class of 2020 online ceremony, a class of 2021 online ceremony, a ceremony specific to my grad program, and an in-person walking ceremony, all of which were complete with plenty of talking. You know what? I don't remember anything they said. None of it. And that was only a month ago. So I think I'm supposed to pass along wisdom to help you prepare for high school. But if I know one thing about EFS, it's that your teachers did a really good job of that already. If you're here, you're prepared. And you're far more prepared than most other students get to be. That's not to say you won't fail, because you will, but take a deep breath. You have the tools you need to succeed in high school, and you got this. So where does that leave us today? Knowing that I'm speaking at your graduation and I don't remember a word of mine from a month ago. Well, I'm just going to be honest, we're exhausted. It's been a rough year. You went through COVID school. I went through COVID school. You all helped them get through COVID school. We all need a break. So I'm really hoping that from this speech, you remember one thing, just one thing. If you have the bandwidth, maybe two, but judging from my own experience, my hopes are not high. So one thing, and as a bonus, it's something that I've been told you already do quite well. Ready for it? Turn to wonder. Turn to wonder. I'm going to say that one more time. Turn to wonder. So what does that mean? As I said, I graduated with my master's in conflict transformation about a month ago, and I'm incredibly grateful to have been hired by the Erie County Restorative Justice Coalition, ECRJC. I attended my first staff retreat on Friday, and we spent the morning in a circle talking about how we want to operate together. We shared, discussed, came to a consensus about the values that we want to center our relationships as staff members and the guidelines we want to follow in those relationships. One of the guidelines that we came up with was turn to wonder. Our executive director, Dina Thompson, suggested that specific phrasing, and I love it. Turning to wonder is central to my current work. All I do all day long is talk to people and ask questions. It's central to my degree, too, and it's something that I learned here, although not well enough to ask Ms. Murak which side of the stage I'd be standing on. I practice this looking that way. Take this as a lesson. I'll try my best. Turning to wonder is simple and yet incredibly complex. Most things are. It means to ask questions. Here at Elmwood, that meant to ask questions of my teachers when I didn't understand something. Ask questions of the physical world, sometimes in science or math classes, to ask questions of authors and characters, of music, of emotion, of each other, of ourselves. One of my favorite things to do is to ask questions of the past. History always seems inevitable, right? Because it happened that way, and therefore it must have happened that way. I learned here, though, that history is not passive, and that things happened because somebody or somebodies decided it was good or right or necessary and then made it happen. So I learned to turn to wonder here at EFS, and it's at the core of everything I've done since. In high school at Williamsville South, those questions helped me in classes again, and they also helped me to build relationships with an entirely new set of classmates and teachers. I actually noticed in my first year that I was one of the few students who wasn't afraid to ask questions. Then I went to college and stayed an extra year for grad school, and again I found myself turning to wonder. Turning to wonder is how you analyze a conflict and imagine new possibilities. We ask, what's going on here? Why? Who is involved? When did it start? Where is this happening mostly? How is this happening? And when we've asked those questions 1,000 times, we ask, how could this be different? Who do we need to work with to move forward? When and where do we have an opportunity to act? What do we need to do? Why do we think it'll work? I had one professor in particular who always told us to turn our judgments into questions, both of ourselves, asking, why do I think that? And also of others. I noticed this, what does that mean for you? Did I catch that correctly? Help me understand. And now my work at ECRJC, turning to wonder is again central. I guess it's good that we made it one of our guidelines. In short, we work with communities and groups to build relationships in order to address harm and prevent it from happening again. This could be something I said that hurt you, and I have to understand my impact and learn to speak differently in the future. It could also be physical violence or systemic violence, and something we have to figure out how to heal and move forward from together without repeating that violence and further breaking apart our community. Again, turning to wonder is key. What happened? Why? How did it make you feel? What have you been thinking about since? What do you need? What can we do to make this right? Turn to wonder. Question everything. You can start small. Why didn't we always wear masks at the doctor's office? It's one that I've been thinking about a lot in the past year. Maybe your questions are different. Why did we make some students wear white dresses and others the same suit based on a gender they were assigned at birth? What's the meaning behind that? Do we need that? How could that cause harm? What can we do instead? Or maybe you'll join me at ECRJC someday, asking how can we work together to make our communities in Buffalo work better for everyone in them. Don't get me wrong, turning to wonder is not easy. It means accepting that you don't have all the answers. It means questioning your friends and the people you really don't want to talk to. It means digging into things that make you feel uncomfortable. It means challenging ideas you've held your entire life. It means genuinely asking for explanations behind things you disagree with. It means confronting pain and harm and not running away. You know what's really hard about asking questions? You have to listen to the answers. And those answers are often completely confusing. The data can be overwhelming. Conflicts have roots that span years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and there's never just two sides. Sometimes the answers we get are valid. There are good reasons we don't touch hot pans with our bare hands, right? Sometimes the answers make a lot of sense even when we really don't want them to. Why does my stomach hurt? Oh, because I ate a bunch of ice cream and I'm lactose intolerant. Right, okay. Why did you hurt me? Oh, because somebody else hurt you? Well, that doesn't make it right, but I have to hold that. I have to see the truth in that. And when turning to wonder means that you have to interrogate yourself, why did I do that? Why do I think that? Why did I make that assumption? Where did that come from? Finally, most importantly, and hardest of all, when we turn to wonder and we listen to the answers, we have to hold ourselves and our communities accountable to those answers. Why did you do that? Because you thought you had no other choice? Maybe we need to work together to give you access to better choices. Why do you think that? Because that's what you see in your town? I didn't know that. This is what I see. Why do you think there's a difference? How do we reconcile the two? Going back to those questions I ask at ECRJC, sometimes we are the person who caused harm, or the person who experienced harm. And yes, we still have to turn to wonder. What happened? How did that make me feel? How did that make you feel? What do I need? What do you need? How can I make this right? Who can we ask for support? Sometimes we aren't directly involved, but we have a stake in that community. We have to ask, where were we? Why didn't we do anything? What can we do now? So graduates, turning to wonder is hard, but do it anyway. Question everything. It's worth it. We do far too many things. We do far too many things because they're easy, or because they're comfortable, or because they're the way we've always done them, or because 600 years ago somebody decided we should do it that way. We could be doing far more for each other if we asked and listened. I'm going to tell one more story before I go, and it's another thing I learned at EFS. Technically, it was only in March of last year, yes, the week before the world shut down. So I didn't learn it as a student, but really, who hasn't lost their sense of time in the pandemic? Anyway, I came back to EFS last spring, and I was standing in front of a class talking about something. I don't remember. But at one point, Mr. Guerra stopped, and he looked at me, and he looked at the class, and he's standing with his hands on his hips, so I bet he knows what's coming. So he looked at me, and he looked at the class, and he hitched his thumb, and he goes, "She's not special." She's not special. Isn't that incredible? I mean this genuinely. Mr. Guerra went on to explain that there is nothing inherently different about me that means you can't do what I do. And I'm going to add that I'm not, nor should I be anybody else's definition of success, but that's a topic for another day. As a collective, you already have practice in turning to wonder. As I mentioned at the beginning of this speech, I've been told you already turned to wonder quite well. You already asked hard questions, listened to the answers, and helped hold EFS accountable to change a decision somebody made a century ago. This isn't on any one of you alone, and no change really has been. Turn to wonder, and when the answers seem overwhelming and hopeless, turn to each other. Find others, ask together, imagine, create, build new ways of being that work for everybody. Question, listen, and then do. Class of 2021, thank you for all the questions you've already asked. Thank you for the answers you've already come up with. Congratulations for all the ways you've already held yourselves and each other and this institution accountable. Go, keep doing it. Turn to wonder, and together we can create something wonderful. Thanks.